I never imagined that my meticulously cared-for lawn would spark what could only be called a full-blown neighborhood conflict. My name is Daniel, and I've been a resident of Oakwood Estates for almost 5 years now. It's a pleasant community filled with attractive houses, perfectly trimmed yards, and, regrettably, one of the most rigid HOA boards anywhere in the area. Leading this board was Karen Wilkinson, a woman whose whole identity appeared to center on imposing pointless regulations and causing distress among the residents. When I initially settled here, made an effort to get along with Karen. I waved hello whenever I spotted her briskly walking the streets with her ever-present clipboard, noting down every minor infraction. I offered polite smiles during neighborhood gatherings as she droned on for 45 minutes about the precise acceptable hue of beige for house exteriors. I even paid compliments on her assortment of garden gnomes, even though I privately thought they were quite gaudy. But every effort I made to build friendly relations crumbled the moment I had solar panels mounted on my roof. Those panels are an unsightly nuisance and weren't cleared by the Architectural Review Committee, Karen declared in her piercing tone, as she strode up my driveway one Saturday morning. I was busy washing my car at the time and stood upright, still gripping the hose. Actually, Karen, I filed all the required forms 3 months ago and got official approval last month, I answered steadily, grabbing the towel draped over my car's mirror. I have the paperwork indoors, if you'd care to review it. Her expression twisted in clear annoyance. Well, there's still glaring too much sunlight back onto the road. It's dangerous for anyone driving by, she pressed, her voice climbing higher with every syllable. I resisted the impulse to roll my eyes. The panels come with specialized anti-reflective coating. They comply fully with state, county, and our own HOA standards. I kept my cool, though inside, I was silently counting to 10. Karen's gaze sharpened as she surveyed my yard, clearly hunting for any possible breach of her cherished rules. Her eyes settled on my grass. Your lawn is overgrown. According to Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the Covenants, grass height must not go beyond 2.5 inches. I had mowed it just the day before. Would you like to get out a ruler and check? I asked, letting a touch of dry humor slip into my tone. That marked the start of what turned into a relentless one-woman campaign against me. In the weeks that followed, violation notices arrived one after another for ever more ridiculous reasons. My garbage bins had been visible from the street for 15 extra minutes on pickup day. The flowers I'd added to my beds were unapproved species. My holiday lights from half a year earlier were supposedly detectable if someone peered through binoculars from a particular spot on Karen's rooftop. Every single time, I responded calmly, supplying proof of compliance, or fixing whatever trivial matter she raised. Every single time, Karen became visibly more irritated. It was obvious she wasn't accustomed to dealing with someone who knew the rules as thoroughly as she did, and possessed the restraint to handle things properly. Most other residents just paid the penalties to escape the hassle, which I figured probably covered several of Karen's trips to Boca Raton. Things worsened when I chose to nominate myself for an open seat on the HOA board. I figured I might introduce some common sense to the group. Once Karen learned of my plans, she intercepted me while I was checking my mailbox. I understand you're planning to run for the board, she said, with a smile that stayed far from her eyes. How enterprising of you. Just wanting to contribute to our community, I answered in a friendly manner. You realize the position demands a lot of time. Given your circumstances, I'm not sure you'd manage it. Her words were sugary, but her stare was icy. My circumstances involved working remotely as a structural engineer. If anything, my schedule was more adaptable than most people's. I appreciate the thought, Karen, but I know I can handle the commitment. She moved in nearer. Daniel, let's speak plainly. You really shouldn't pursue this. The existing board functions smoothly as a team. We don't need an outsider stirring up trouble in our unity. Her breath carried hints of coffee and menace. I believe some constructive debate benefits any group, I countered, stepping backward. Let the better candidate prevail. Karen's efforts to undermine me ramped up afterward. All at once, anonymous letters began appearing in neighbors' mailboxes questioning my reliability. Whispers spread about my reasons for working from home. Was I unable to hold a regular job? Was I operating some shady operation? Had I been dismissed from my last position for improper behavior? I preserved my composure, adhering strictly to every regulation, while promoting my vision of openness and equity. As voting day neared, it became clear from the community sessions that plenty of residents were warming to my ideas. Karen's face grew stormier with every encouraging remark aimed at me. 3 days before the vote, I came back from the supermarket to discover a utility vehicle parked in my driveway. A technician wearing a high-visibility vest was inspecting something along the side of my house. "Pardon me," I said, as I pulled up to the curb. "Is there something I can assist with?" The technician glanced over. "Are you the owner here? We got a call reporting a gas leak at this property." I furrowed my brow. "I didn't make any report, and I haven't noticed any odor." "Someone did notify us," he said, glancing at his paperwork. "A Karen Wilkinson. She claimed she was representing the HOA and had noticed a powerful smell of gas during a routine property check." A wave of dread washed over me. I had never approved any inspection of my property, and Karen had no legal right to set foot on my land without my consent. The worker gave a casual shrug. "I'm only doing my job, sir. Better safe than sorry." I asked him to go ahead with the check, and we headed together toward the gas meter mounted on the side of the house. What we discovered there left us both speechless. The protective seal on the gas pipe had clearly been disturbed, with obvious scrape marks visible around the fitting. "Sir, have you done any recent work on this line yourself?" the technician asked, his tone laced with worry. "No, definitely not," I answered without hesitation. "I wouldn't dream of messing with gas lines. That's both hazardous and against the law." He gave a serious nod. "Someone certainly has. These scratches are new, and this valve has been deliberately loosened a bit. It's not releasing much gas at the moment, but it could have turned dangerous fast. I'll have to file an official report." My security cameras. I had put them up shortly after those anonymous letters began circulating. "I have surveillance cameras," I told him, already reaching for my phone. "Let's review the recordings." We went indoors, and I cast the security app to my television screen. As we scrolled through the morning's video, we stared in shock at the clear image of Karen approaching my house, glancing around nervously, then kneeling down beside the gas meter. She was plainly visible, fiddling with something, using her hands for several minutes before scurrying off. The utility worker's face went ashen. "Sir, this is incredibly grave. She might have triggered an explosion that could have destroyed your house and threatened the whole neighborhood." I nodded, a shiver running through me despite the mild weather. "I have to call 911. Less than an hour later, my peaceful street was swarming with police vehicles, a fire engine, and an additional utility truck. I handed over the security footage to the officers, who watched it with stern faces. They questioned me thoroughly about my ongoing issues with Karen, and I detailed the growing campaign of harassment. "This has crossed far beyond a simple HOA disagreement," one officer stated. "Interfering with gas lines qualifies as a felony. It constitutes reckless endangerment of the public." They departed to confront Karen, and I settled onto my front porch steps, trying to absorb the shock of it all. Neighbors clustered on the sidewalks, murmuring to one another as details of the event spread quickly. Several came over to me, voicing their disbelief and recounting their own long-standing grievances with Karen's domineering ways. It turned out I wasn't her sole victim, just the only one equipped with cameras to catch her. 2 hours passed before the police came back. From my window, I saw them leading Karen out of her home in handcuffs. Her expression was one of pure outrage as she yelled loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "This is absurd. I was performing a safety check. As president of the HOA, I have full authority," she protested, while they guided her into the patrol car. By the next day, the incident hit the local news channels. Karen faced charges including criminal tampering with utility equipment, reckless endangerment, trespassing, and attempted destruction of property. Her bail was posted at $50,000. That evening's emergency HOA meeting drew the largest crowd in the neighborhood's history. Every seat in the modest community center was occupied, with residents standing along the walls. The remaining board members, appearing rattled, opened the session. "Given the developments today, the vice president said uneasily. We are moving forward with an immediate vote to remove Karen Wilkinson from her role as board president. The decision to oust her was unanimous, as was my subsequent election to take the empty position. As the gathering wrapped up, my phone notified me of a fresh news update. Karen's workplace, a nearby real estate firm, had issued a public statement declaring her dismissal, referencing their strict policy against any criminal actions that jeopardize community safety. I headed outside afterward to find several neighbors gathered there. One presented me with a thoughtfully assembled gift basket. We passed the hat around to cover any legal costs you might have, an older woman explained warmly. We've all wished we could challenge her for so long, but fear held us back. I expressed my deep gratitude, genuinely moved by their support, while still coming to terms with everything that had unfolded. As I strolled home in the fading twilight, my phone rang again. It was my lawyer with the latest information. Karen posted bail and is out, she told me, but there's additional news. The court granted a restraining order. She must stay at least 100 feet away from you and your home. I was preparing to reply, when a high-end SUV braked sharply at the curb next to me. The driver's window lowered, exposing Karen's reddened face, her eyes blazing with rage. You believe this is victory? She hissed, gripping the wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Do you realize what you've cost me? You've ruined everything: my career, my status, my good name. Before I could utter a word, a police car that had been stationed farther down the block activated its lights and moved in behind her SUV. The officer emerged, resting a hand on his radio. Ma'am, please exit the vehicle, he instructed clearly. Karen's features collapsed as comprehension dawned. I only just got released. It hasn't even been an hour, she cried, as the officer neared. And you've already breached the restraining order, he responded evenly. Exit the vehicle immediately. As the officer placed Karen in handcuffs for the second time within a single day, her cries rang out across the area. This is unjust. I was simply fulfilling my duties. I created this community. I established the standards. The judge showed no leniency for her quick reoffending. The following morning, I learned that her bail had been canceled, and she would be detained until trial. The prosecutor's early assessment suggested she could face as many as 5 years behind bars, along with penalties that might surpass $100,000. Upon hearing the details in court, Karen simply fainted, slumping to the floor like a puppet with severed strings, and had to be lifted and removed from the room by bailiffs as the gavel fell on her fate.